Chapter 5, Go All-in-One, Troubleshooting and Maintenance. All right. Now, you guys have heard me talk about troubleshooting before, and I believe I use my mother as an example here. All right. Of, um, you know, connections. That's the first one. But let's go back a little bit. Troubleshooting. I have KISS up here at the top. All right. Anyone know what KISS stands for? One of my favorite sayings. One at least willing to speak. All right. It is keep it simple, stupid. All right. When you are troubleshooting something, always start with the simple things that may be causing the problem. All right. And connections is one of those things. All right. Um, and some may argue that my first two were kind of backwards, connections and reboot. You maybe want to reboot first because that's probably the simplest thing, right? It's a little software button. You go click reboot, you move on, everything is good. All right. I like connections being first because sometimes you don't actually have to reboot, and it takes longer for you to reboot your computer than it does to actually like plug a mouse or something in. So when I'm saying connections, I'm saying is if it's a hardware issue, are all your connections done, right? Is your mouse plugged in? Is your Bluetooth connected? Are you connected to Wi-Fi? Printer plugged in? Are your printer on Wi-Fi? Whatever it is. Are those connections there? All right. Now, some of those are very simple to test. All right. And one of those ways that you might want to test your connections at least is with Device Manager, which I will go ahead and set this one. Oh, oh, there we go. All right, so here we have Device Manager, and you can come here and go through and see, like, oh, what cameras do I have? And you can see I have my web camera, and I have a live camera, which is just another web camera, different brand. All right, but oh, I got connection to both of those. Here I have a driver issue. All right, with my USB 3.0 monitor. All right, I don't have the drivers installed for it, which is fine. But this is a good place that you can come check connections and things like that to make sure they're actually plugged in. Another thing you might want to do when it comes to connections is just physically unplug everything, plug it back together. All right. You may think your USB cable is plugged in, it may have popped out a little bit, or you may think the mouse is plugged in, it's not plugged in all the way. Network connections, especially, man, especially if you've broken the little stupid plastic bit on the network, like on an Ethernet cable that's supposed to hold it in. You're just like, oh, it still slides in, it'll be fine. Well, it might not be held in quite as well as you thought it was. So always just check your connections. And not just the connections from a device to the computer, but also from the device to the power source. Now, the computer may be that power source, but like if your monitor's not working, make sure you have it plugged into power. All right. It is so stinking simple these days to have so many cables running around that you're like, yeah, that's a power cable, it's plugged in. And when if you actually like look down at your power strip or something, it's not actually plugged in anymore, or you have the wrong power cable plugged in. I mean, so I've got 3 monitors set up here, so that's 3 power cables. My desktop is a 4th. My speakers are a 5th. I have a light for helping with making my face brighter, so that's a 6th. So there's just like so many power connections on a desktop. Laptop, normally you have 1, right? And at that point, you want to make sure you've got a good power cable. All right, you could have a bad plug, things like that. I had a laptop once that the inside of the barrel jack, the little metal pin that sticks out that your barrel jack normally would go over, physically broke off and got stuck in my power cable. So if I didn't have it plugged in quite right or twisted the right way, it wasn't making a connection. So I actually had to have my laptop taken completely apart, a new power plugs soldered in place, and then reassembled. It was a fun one. But connections, definitely going to be the simplest place to start. Next, I said reboot. All right, man, there are so many stupid software issues that are just like, oh yeah, something's just not right. You reboot, everything's fine. You're like, what did I change? All right, man, rebooting can make your life easier. And I'll add on top of rebooting. Sometimes rebooting won't work, but do a shutdown. Like turn your computer off, unplug it from its power source. If it's a laptop, take the battery out, let it sit for a few minutes. Go make a cup of coffee, a cup of hot cocoa this time of year, whatever it is. Then come back, plug the power back in, and try again. All right. Sometimes that type of reset, like completely shutting things down, which completely removes power from your RAM and things like that. Sometimes that will fix the problem. So a lot of little troubleshooting steps you can do there with rebooting. So not only rebooting, but completely power changing. All right. Other things that you might want to think about. What changes have you made to your computer? Have you installed new hardware? All right. Adding a third monitor to my computer, man, I changing my main monitor now is HDMI instead of VGA, and this one's this, and my wires are all now a mess behind everything. But it's all right. But what type of changes did you add? Did you add hardware, new mouse, new keyboard, Wi-Fi dongle? Is your new Wi-Fi dongle not connected to your Wi-Fi? All right. Um, those types of things. And because this is hardware not only installed in your computer, but your network as well, if you've changed your router, all of a sudden maybe now you're not connected to the Wi Fi anymore. You may have used the same SSID and encryption protocol and everything, but your computer's like, no, I don't trust that. It doesn't seem quite right. And you just have to, re-click on it again and say, yeah, connected that one. So there's a lot of little itty bitty changes that you can make there. So hardware issues, or hardware did you change? Software can also cause problems. All right, normally you're installing software hoping it to work, and then it doesn't. Now you're like, okay, now what's the problem? But software is another thing that can cause too many issues. You install software A and it stops software B from working. And you're like, what's going on here? All right, so software, another problem. Large file downloads. All right, that could be causing your computer to act really slow, or hard drives be completely full. A lot of times nowadays, instead of computers coming with like 1 terabyte traditional hard drives, right? The old spinning disk that I have here. All right, they're coming with SSDs, but maybe those SSDs are only 120 gigs or maybe 240 type of thing. And in that case, you're going, well, I don't have enough space for everything. So definitely keep your file downloads and things like that in the back of your mind. Um, this one may sound silly, but did you drop your computer? All right, especially laptops, right? Laptops we all just throw in our bags we carry around. If you're nice to your computers, you have a nice neoprene case or whatever to put it in. You put it inside a padded pocket in your bag. For me, my HCC work laptop, which I have right here, yeah, this thing just gets thrown into a canvas bag. I don't have a neoprene shell for it. I don't have anything like that. So not the nicest way to be carrying things around, but sometimes that is just how you have to do it. So really kind of think about that. And what harm could dropping your computer do? Well, there are connectors inside your laptops that could cause one of those to come a little bit separated. If you have a traditional hard drive and you dropped it while it was on, the little read head, that's really little itty bitty part. Go ahead back to my main monitor, my main right, the little read head here. This arm, in theory, that doesn't actually touch the actual disk. There's just a little bit of a space there. So when you drop this, and all of a sudden that, pings off or whatever and smacks that disk, that is not a healthy sound. All right. That can damage that, which then can cause other issues down the road. So something you got to really kind of keep in the back of your mind. So did you drop your computer? Did you kick your computer? If you transported a desktop, again, there are so many connections inside of that. Did you actually make sure everything's reseated? Handling desktop computers is a bit of an art. With PCI and SATA and power, and those are all different connections that you have. Your RAM also has connections. So did that one of those pop out or wiggle loose or something like that? Those can just having a loose RAM stick can keep your computer to computer to stick. Your computer to get stuck and not boot. There we go. So those types of things. If you're still having issues, the internet's your friend. All right, use the forums out there. Now, you do want to be careful when using the forums. You don't want it to be like, oh, so and so told me to type this into my terminal window. That's the type of thing you want to be kind of careful about, because you never know what that terminal window, what they actually are telling you to do if you're not paying it careful. So take those forums with a grain of salt, right? Trust them up to some point, especially if like, did you check this and that, and what about this? Those types of things. If they're asking you to post logs, it's so they can help you and look at your stuff and actually have a better understanding of what's going on. But at the same point, what is actually in those logs? That log could have your external IP address, or it could have the password to your Wi-Fi, or something along those lines, and that may not be something that you want to post. So they're asking you to post logs, post them, but I would go through them before you post it with a fine-tooth comb and go, okay, what's this, what's that, those types of things. And especially as a novice, if you're not a great computer person, you may not have a great idea with that, what all that means. So definitely something that you want to keep your mind on. All right, so forums are a great place. I can't tell you how many times I have an issue. I'm like, oh, I might just go search on the internet for this, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is how you do it. It's like, oh yeah, okay, yep, that's exactly what I was trying to do. All right, so please use those forums, post to them, just read other people's posts. However, when you are reading those forums, the other thing you want to check on is the date. All right. There's nothing worse than having a problem in 2021 on a new computer, and you're like, oh, that person had the exact same problem with me back in 2002. All right. Now, while yes, that could be the exact same problem, and what they told you to do could solve it, but at the same point, if it's 20 years old, you may be going, does that really apply to today? Is that a Windows XP issue, or is that a Windows 7 or 10 issue, or whatever? So, something that you do want to keep in mind. All right. Now, Windows does have some troubleshooters built in. All right, and here we go. I've got my troubleshooting. Let's go ahead and just make it on the smaller side. All right, so Windows does have this troubleshooting window built in. All right, personally, I've never had great luck with this. Like, oh, let me connect to that network, and it's like, oh yeah, we're having a hard time connecting to that network. Should we troubleshoot the problem for you? And I'm like, yeah, go ahead and troubleshoot it. And it's like, yep, couldn't find any problems. It's like, well, thanks. You're really helpful. All right. So Windows does have some troubleshooting stuff built in. All right. You have I have mine set to don't run them at all because they just overall bother me. Um, but here we have an internet connection troubleshooting, playing audio. That one maybe if you have the wrong audio device set up. Right now I have headphones in. I also have computer speakers. I have the computer speakers. I'm using headphones on Zoom, so that way anything I say, comes out my speakers doesn't get like loop backed and we get a horrible noise there. So but printer maybe if you're having a problem that might fix it. Windows Update, those types of things. You also have some Bluetooth and keyboard and all sorts of things. So there's a lot of troubleshooters that are built right into Windows at this point. And maybe these will help you, maybe they won't. All right. I said, personally, I've just never had any good luck with them. So Task Manager, which is actually what I have over. Ooh, you guys can't see it, so let me just bring up a fresh one. It's what I had on the PowerPoint itself. All right, so here we have PowerPoint running with all the different processes. So here you can kind of see what's going on my computer. I've got Zoom meetings using up some CPU. I've got my Google Drive sync probably uploading some files as we talk. I've got Chrome running, Spotify. Not sure what Start is. Fun one. Look into that one. Search, Runtime Broker. So these are all things that are going on in my background. I got my performance, which is a great place to go look and see how your computer's doing. If all of these things are spiked up to the max, it might be something that you want to go look at to see what's pulling your power down. Best place to do that is go to processes, and why mine's jumping around is I'm sorting by CPU, and it's normally putting the most CPU at the top. So you can also see about your RAM, your hard drives. Here's you can see your Ethernet, which is kind of fun. So um, I am sending about 3.2 megabits per, up to 5. All right, and as I said, I am sending stuff out to Google Drive for backing up as we speak. So go ahead and pause that one. That running in the background right now, in case that's going to cause problems. So we should see that dropping down. I'm only receiving a little bit. Here you can see my GPU, what it's doing, those types of things. Should see a wireless in here too. Curious why I don't. But anyway, so kind of interesting how you can just see all those specs there, and there's a lot of good information going on right there. So now we can see I'm only at like 1 megabit per second because I'm not uploading to Google Drive anymore. You can see some app history, some startup stuff, so all the stuff that might be slowing your computer down. Great place to come look. Users, services. So Task Manager is a great place for troubleshooting to go look to try to find what's causing some problems. They also have Device Manager, which I did already pull up, but we'll go ahead and pull it up one more time. So here we have Device Manager, which normally if you have a little error, driver issue or something, it shows you that right off the bat. But you can see all of my monitors, you can see my keyboard, my little Logitech, my mice, got a gaming mouse that's just my main one with all the buttons on it, my different display adapters, so a lot of good information there. You can see your processors, what's going on there. So another great place where you can go look for troublesome issues. Oh, and the last one that I like to point out, which I don't know how to show you the guys this, it's not on this monitor. But anyway, do I have that monitor set up to be shared? Yeah, okay. Windows has this little like notification area built in over here. Need to you have to give me a second so I can make it so you guys can actually see what I'm clicking on. So if I click on this, you got a little notification area, which notification at the top, but you have a lot of good shortcuts and things like that in here. And I have a little note about airplane mode, which is that button right there. First column, second row. All right. Um, and man, that will obviously turn off Bluetooth. It turns off Wi-Fi. It turns off all those types of things. So definitely something that you want to keep in mind. Is that on, which is why you don't have any Wi-Fi options or things like that. So definitely somewhere that you want to kind of keep in the back of your mind. So um, can be kind of helpful if you know what you're looking for there. So all right, now when it comes to utilities, probably the most useful one that you guys will be using will be disk, or you might use would be disk cleanup. All right. Um, this is a very, very useful tool, which will, help you get rid of all the extra junk that is on your computer at every given point in time. All right, so here I've got it showing. Um, so downloaded program files, internet files. It's actually showing you, as far as it's concerned, what is where. All right, so I've got 2.45 gigs of stuff in my recycling bin. My downloads, temporary internet files. Actually, sometimes the download program file is there. Sometimes it's not. So, but yeah, this is a great place that you can come and kind of basically just go, yep, I don't need any of this stuff anymore, and then you can just hit, yep, okay, and it will say, are you sure you want to permanently delete all this stuff? And yeah, go ahead and get rid of it. And it'll just go ahead and delete all that stuff up. That's a great way to start with freeing up some hard drive space on your computer. Is it the end-all solution? No. All right. That is not the perfect solution. Um, yep. All right. There's also a storage right in, again, built in right into Windows. And then here you can see kind of what's going on. I have some temporary files which still have 10 gigs that Windows cleanup didn't miss. All right. And that's because my downloads folder. Now this one's going to grab my downloads folder. All right. Which I have 10 gigs of files and things like that in there. So that one's kind of a big disk hog as far as I'm concerned. So, and what you'll see is, I should have pointed this out a while ago. You have two different types of like Windows control interfaces at this point. We have the kind of the older school option, all right, and that is just straight up control panel. All right, and this is control panel. I normally say small icons. All right, and then if I click on mouse, it brings up like the mouse properties. Now you can also do that in the new one, which is called settings. And if I go to mouse, all right, so you can kind of see it's like Windows. What the hell's going on here? Why do we have two different screens for the same purpose? All right. And there are ways, if you do like additional mouse options, that's going to bring up the same mouse properties. But by default, it doesn't bring that up. It's like, okay, we can do most of the, I guess, the standard things that people are changing right here. We don't have to bring up like really complicated one with all the different tabs at the top and things that most people aren't changing. All right. We can do them all from right here, which is kind of nice that they're trying to do that. But again, it gets kind of confusing that we have settings and control panel. So something to kind of keep in the back of your mind. Control panel, this is, Windows 7. I don't know if Windows 8 had control panel, but definitely Windows 7 and before. But now with Windows 10, they're trying to come a little bit more modern looking, a little bit more intuitive with search functions and those types of things built into it. And that's what settings is. So can you do the same thing from both of them? Yeah, most of the time, but maybe not all of the time. So something to kind of keep in the back of your mind. Now, when it comes to backing up your computer, all right, Windows has built-in backup using file history. All right, and that may be what you're looking for. But my big question is always when it comes to backing up is, what are you trying to accomplish? All right, when you're trying to accomplish for backing up, there's overall three main purposes that I kind of think about. We have backing up to protect your hard drive from failure, or protect your data from a hard drive failure. All right, hard drives do have a limited lifespan. All right, there are physical moving spark parts in this that will fail. So you're gonna, that disk spins, the arm moves. All right, there are actual moving parts here, and those are wear items. They will fail over time. All right, on newer solid state drives, those memory chips will wear out over time. So you don't want to be constantly reading and writing to the exact same spot because that chip will go bad or that spot on the chip will go bad. And that's just no good thing. So um, your hard drives and your computers are going to fail. It's just a matter of do they fail before your computer fails and you replace them? That's the biggest question. All right. For me, one of the hard drives in my computer is a 320 gigabyte hard drive that I got with my desktop when I first went to college back in 2007. All right, so 14 years old is what that hard drive is. Now, when I bought that computer, there were two 320 gig hard drives in there. One of them did fail on me. All right, so I'm at like a 50% failure ratio for my hard drives. Now, one of them still going strong on my computer. My hard drive wasn't like a complete and utter disaster failure. I was able to slowly copy things off. I couldn't just like boot, copy everything, and paste and be done. It would get so far into copying and it would fail. And I'm like, now what all did I copy? What didn't I get copied? Those types of things. So there was a lot of like me rebooting my computer to copy my stuff off at a few gigs at a time, or few folders at a time to make my life simple so I knew what I did and didn't get copied. So that's one reason you might want to back up is for protecting your data from hard drive failure. Another reason you might want to back up is because of theft. All right, and that's probably where the USB, if you're gonna stick with your own personal stuff, the USB option comes in. So this type of thing is a great from theft. Is if you back up once a week at home or whatever, and you put this in your safe or safety deposit box or friend's house or office or whatever, and someone breaks into your house or grabs your bag as you're walking down the street and steals your laptop, you still do have all of your data backed up and safe and ready to go. So that case, that's a whole different reason for backing up. Another reason to backing up is from damage, right? Maybe you leave your computer at home all day plugged in, and your house burns down. Well, if your house burns down, and even if you have a hard drive like this plugged into your computer to protect it from hard drive failure, well, that hard drive is going to go up to flames with the rest of your house. So this doesn't do you much good. All right. Now, maybe if you had this in your safe, then it would be fine, or if you had it in in your office or whatever. But having to like constantly move this from point A to point B and back again and those types of things gets really annoying, and a lot of people tend to forget. They stop and they get lazy and whatever else. All right. Some people say you should have 3 backups or 3 hard drives. The one you're working on, backup for the one you're working on, and the week-old backup that's offsite. All right. So that case, if you ever house burns down, someone steals something, whatever, you always have at least data that's at most 1 week old. All right. To each your own, give and take a little bit there. I like this, you like that. It's all kind of your own personal preference. So, but all my really important data at home, I have on at least 2, if not 3 hard drives. I have it on the computer I'm working on a hard drive. I have my server, which is sitting, kind of right behind me. And then I was backing up to this. Since I reinstalled Windows, I haven't gotten my USB one up to date yet, so I really need to do that. And then the other thing I do is a lot of my important documents are also synced to Google Cloud somewhere. All right, my photos are all backed up to Google Photos, so even if my house burns down and I lose all my hard drives here, I still have access to all my photos. All my teaching stuff is on Google Drive. That's synced to the cloud, synced to my work laptop, my work desktop, those things. So those are all safe. Movies, music, those types of things, I'm not currently backing those up because I figure worst case, I can always get those back. All right. Those aren't those things that I will never be able to find again. All right. Pictures from your childhood or from your kid's childhood. Yeah, you're never going to get those back if the house burns to the ground. So a little bit of a give and take there. But so when it comes to backing up, there's kind of 3 different reasons you want to back up. All of them are good things you want to try to back up and protect against. So hard drive failure, theft, and fire. But they all kind of require a slightly different backup technique, or at least 2 backup techniques. A secondary hard drive at your house backed up, and a secondary hard drive off-site somewhere being backed up. So a little bit of a give and take. And when it comes to backing up, you have 3 options. You have local, network, and cloud. All right. The local would be on your specific computer. So the one I'm sitting at, again, with like a USB or just a second hard drive in the computer. Network would be my server sitting right behind me, and cloud would be Google for me. So I actually am doing all 3 of those in the long run. All right. So Google Drive actually has something called backup and sync. All right. So for me, if I and preferences. That will at least somewhat make sure it's not showing important information. Nope. All right. So for me, I have backup and sync installed on my personal computer. So Google says, hey, what do you want to back up? You want to back up your desktop, your documents, your pictures, you want to choose another folder, and then it throws everything up into my Google Drive. Now I have 19 gigabytes of Google Drive storage for free. So that obviously is not enough for me to back up everything. In fact, my pictures, because luckily Google says right currently this is going away, you can upload as many photos as you want to us as long as you do it in high quality, not original, which means there is a little bit of loss there, but I'm okay with that because that's like my worst case backup. Um, uh, Currently until like June, you can upload as many pictures as you want to them for free, which is good because right now it says calculating for my pictures. I think my pictures folder is like 400 gigabytes or something like that. Ridiculous to me. I mean, these are pictures again since back when I was in high school on my first digital camera, which was 3 megapixels. Oh my god, I was so excited about that back then, about having a digital camera. Um, so I have all those pictures are uploaded to Google Drive, and nothing super fancy going on. So that is one way. Google has OneDrive, not Google. Microsoft has OneDrive. And as students at HCC, you guys all have OneDrive, as you guys should know, because you did that assignment for us. But so here is a little website on how to use OneDrive to sync all your files automatically. And so there's software you can download onto your computer. Actually, it might be built right into Windows at this point. I'm not positive. But then you can manage and you can back things up automatically. So anytime you put anything in those folders, it'll automatically go and get uploaded to the cloud. Which is, again, a great thing if you trust those people. And as students, that's where I'm going. As students, I believe it is you guys have like 1 terabyte of cloud storage through OneDrive. So you guys all have, a kind of, as far as I'm concerned, a stupid amount of space there. I'm just trying to look up to make sure my 1 terabyte number isn't a complete and utter falsity. Not seeing right off the back like I was hoping to. But anyway, you guys have a lot of storage as an HCC account. So as long as you have your HCC account, you guys should be good and have plenty of storage space there. I could basically upload my entire computer to that 1 terabyte and it would be just plenty. Wouldn't have any issues overall. So definitely something that you want to contemplate. Take advantage of it while you have it. All right. So that would be how you would do it. So that's cloud. And as I like to stress, just remember, the only thing that cloud is somebody else's computer. All right. So if you don't trust that company to keep your data safe, don't use the cloud. All right. So I trust Google. Google could absolutely ruin my life. I don't have any great reasons why I should trust Google, but I also don't have any horrible reasons why I should trust Google. But Google could ruin my life if they wanted to. So be smart about who you trust. Do I really like the fact that Google is like the sole proprietor over all of my information? And if they want to, they could be like, "Yep, we're done with you. Have a nice day." No, I'm actually looking into building another server at my parents' house back in Pennsylvania, so that way, if something did happen to my house, I could be backing everything up to their house, hundreds of miles away. So it'd be a very simple thing to do to us. Not very simple. And there's ways that you can set up those types of backups so that way devices off your network, you could still send backup information like that too. And in fact, they're actually built into some NASs that you can buy. So I forget what the name brand is, but there's a few out there where if you have a NAS, that company's NAS, and someone else has that same company's NAS, there's a little program you can install that basically allows you to have an encrypted folder on your friend's NAS. So anything you upload there is space is encrypted and they can't read it, but you can retrieve it when you need to. So kind of a nice little thing that company built in, but you do need 2 of those, so little give and take. So so we do have automatic backups for Windows, that file history one. You can do manual backups where you just manually go and copy things back and forth right now, which is my current setup for like my pictures from my desktop to my server. I just every once in a while like, okay, I'm gonna go copy paste and I'm done. Something that I do actually need to script. So I need to write a little program which basically says every day at 3 a.m. copy any new files from point A to point B, and it will just automatically move any of those new files, which would be a very helpful thing to do. So you have auto backup, manual backup, script backups that you've programmed yourself, and again, which one do you want? All depends on what your personal preference is. So a little bit of a give and take there. Other utilities that you might have on Windows is software compatibility. So Windows has some options for you, where if you actually right-click on a file, all right, you can say, I need to find a program. You can I say run as administrator, which might give you some other capabilities. But if you go to properties and under advanced, under compatibility, you can actually say run this program like it's for Windows Vista through Windows 8. So you have Vista, Service Pack 1, Service Pack 2, Windows 7, and Windows 8 or Windows 10. You have all those different types of compatibility that you can do. Which does become very helpful for certain things because there's sometimes you can't do certain things with Windows 10 software designed for 7 that was running on 10. There's other issues. So that software compatibility is awesome. You should always update your computer is what it comes down to. All right. Windows does basically do this by default at this point. If I go ahead into my Windows update, I bring you guys along, you can see my computer is update. I do have some, I guess, optional updates for some drivers for Flex Display and for, it looks like it's probably for Wi-Fi driver. Wi-Fi? It's Wi-Fi. But anyway, so I have some optional drivers there. There are some other settings that you might want to set up, like active hours, so that way your computer automatically updates when you're not using it. There's the delivery optimization. This one is really interesting. You can download Windows updates from other PCs on your local network. So that way, like my desktop will probably download it first because my desktop's one that's always on, and we have a laptop upstairs. So anytime there's an update, my laptop upstairs can go, hey, do you have this? And I can go, my computer in front of me goes, yeah, I've got it. And it will just send that update over to my laptop instead of having to download it from the internet again. So much quicker. So I do highly suggest only having PCs on my local network here, not PCs on the internet. Don't check that box. That one's a little questionable to me because in theory, somebody could mess with that update and cause some problems. So that is definitely something that you don't want to, or to me at least, you don't want to have clicked. Maybe you don't care. You're like, it's Windows. I trust them. Go ahead and check that box. So there's some other delivery options, but allow your Windows computer to update. Another one that also I like to check if I can find it, which where it is to update other Windows programs at the same time. Probably under advanced option. So we see updates for other Microsoft products when you update Windows, so like Microsoft Office, those types of things. I do like having that checkbox enabled right there. So a little bit of give and take in there. When it comes to uninstalling, all right, we did already talk about the whole legacy versus kind of the current generation. All right. So the current generation is add or remove features or apps and features. All right. This is add or remove programs. But so you can see we've got a whole bunch of stuff listed there for all my apps that I have installed. However, another place that you can do this from is if you actually go through the control panel and we go to programs and features. Here you can see we can remove the same types of things. All right. But you'll notice they're not all actually on there. So this 3D view, actually come in here. I have 3D connection, but I have no 3D view. All right. That's because that 3D view is an app. So it's just like an app you'd have on your computer. So it doesn't show up in the older style control panel because it's not the same type of program. All right. So you do actually kind of have to use the one in settings. You don't have to use the one that's in the control panel. So but I do like to show that one. All right. And there's all sorts of other utilities. You have antivirus stuff, clipboard, compression utilities, debuggers. The list kind of just goes on and on and on. Internet safety. Don't do stupid things on the internet. All right. And I'm not saying like posting stupid things. I mean downloading, visiting websites, those types of things. All right. Everyone's always trying to get onto your computer is really what it comes down to. So you do need to be very careful about what you allow on. So first thing we have to be aware of is malware, which is software that is designed to be harmful or malicious. All right. Oftentimes, your computer that becomes infected with malware is often then spreading that infection to other computers. So once it gets on one computer on your home network, it's going to try to get onto all of the computers on your network. So definitely something we want to be aware of. Next, we have spamming, which is sending out mass unsolicited messages through communications channels such as email, IM, fax, or text messages. More often than not, spamming is just a nuisance. It's not truly going to cause problems on your computer, and I'm realizing you guys don't see the whole screen. Sorry. Um, so not truly going to cause any major issues, but it could, right? They could be spamming you, and one of those links and they sent that that says free DeWalt drill, and you're like, I want free DeWalt drill, then could have malware built into it. So a lot of give and take is going to be going on there. So oftentimes the spamming is just nuisance, and it does take up a lot of space on servers. Not your servers, but like Google servers, Yahoo servers, those types of things. And this can cost, especially large corporations, billions or millions of dollars every year on that server space because you're like, oh, it's only an email, it's only like a megabyte or kilobyte or whatever. Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, it's one, and if it's on 10,000 people's, well, it's now 10,000 megabytes. All right, so that starts adding up real quick. So something that you need to think about. Next, we have spyware. The whole point of here is to gather information about you and send it to a third party that can be used for malicious purposes. All right. So you also have, as part of spyware, browser hijacking, which involves basically spyware that modifies your browser homepage and then also redirects you to other websites. So you're like, I want to go to Facebook, and it's like, no, you don't. You want to go to MySpace, right? So someone set up something that basically sends everyone from Facebook to MySpace instead to try to build up the numbers on MySpace or something along those lines. As in farming. Yeah, this is farming a little bit. Farming somewhere else? No, we don't have farming anywhere else. Um, yeah, farming. That's also another one. So farming is also there for gathering information about you so they can try to get into your bank accounts and things like that. So, um, your password resets. One of the stupidest things you can do is have your password reset information be information that's posted publicly on Facebook. So farming may be involved talking to you, or it may be just gathering all the information they can about you. All right. Um, so again, like if you have one of the questions on Facebook was, what is your pet's name? That's the one. Or no, you posted pictures of your pet and like, look at I don't know, Bob. He's such a good dog. And on your bank's website, it's like, what's your first pet's name? And they're like, Bob. It's like, oh, yep, you're right. You must be who you claim to be. Let's reset your password for you. All right. So that would be more what farming is. But yeah, spyware could be used for farming. All right. You do normally install spyware without realizing it as you click on a pop-up or install a program or things like that. So, computer viruses are a classification of malware that infects computers, replicating themselves and infecting more computers. Um, this could have a payload that may corrupt or delete files or erase entire hard drives, those types of things. Um, Viruses do need some sort of host to travel on, such as an email attachment, a Word document, a game, those types of things. All right. And there are virus hoaxes where it's like, your computer's infected. You need to fix this. You need to call this number. And, they send you an email for you to call. And they're like, yeah, we can fix your computer. We need a remote in. Can you install TeamViewer for us? Those types of things. Um, yeah, you need to be very careful of those. If you're ever really bored, and I mean really bored, there's a lot of videos on YouTube of people messing with these people who are trying to infect your computer, or the virus hoaxes where they're like, yeah, your computer's infected. Call this phone number, and they're like, yep, we need to go to Best Buy and get us some Best Buy gift cards. That's how you're gonna pay us, because they want somewhere it's like not traceable, those types of things. Um, yeah, be careful. Anytime someone's asking you to pay something in a very questionable way, it's probably not legit. Next, we have logic bombs, which is another type of malware that can damage computers. This attack happens when certain conditions are met, such as employee's name being removed from a database or something like that. So it's all about logic at this point. So it's your computer's a little program on your computer that's constantly running, that's constantly checking. It's like, did this happen yet? No, now, no, 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 no. Oh, there it is. Quick, run! And that's when it runs its whatever payload that is. So the logic bombs are basically the equivalent of a time bomb, but a time bomb happens at a very specific time. All right. Now, logic bombs, time bombs, those could both be used to trigger bigger and badder things, such as DNS attacks, which I don't have on either of this slide or my next slide. All right. DNS is a denial of service attack. Sorry, DOS, not DNS. Um, so a time bomb may, some person may have infected millions of computers, and they said, okay, we're gonna have a DOS attack on Amazon's web server. So we need you all to try to get information from Amazon at the exact same moment in time. And since computers have all of these wonderful clocks on them that are synchronized to other servers places, they can get very accurate time. So we can get down to within a second, everyone can be sending those requests, and they may send the same request for 50 times over the next 10 minutes or whatever, 50 times a second over the next 10 minutes. So that makes sure that everyone is pounding that Amazon server at the exact same time. So logic bomb or time bomb, both kind of same idea. We have worms, which are self-replicating and travel over networks. Now, oftentimes this is scanning the network for vulnerability or vulnerable systems to infect and then spread and kind of keep going. All right. So the worms also could be doing these DOS attacks. And what a denial service, what it truly does is it doesn't actually, normally at least, hurt the server at all, right? If we all try to go to Amazon.com, it actually just basically you sending a little request to Amazon saying, Amazon goes, yep, here's the information. And there is constantly a queue here, all right, because there are probably millions of people trying to access Amazon at any given moment in time. What the DOS attack does is basically my computer sends out thousands of those requests at the exact same time, and Amazon's trying to respond to all of those. And the more people you have sending those, the harder it is for people who actually want to get to Amazon to actually get there. All right, so that's what the whole point of the DOS attack is. Normally, most of the time, there's a lot of ways around blocking those types of things to help prevent them from happening, but not always gonna be a given that's gonna work well. We have Trojan horses, which appear to be legitimate programs, but in reality, it might install adware, a toolbar, keylogger, whatever that's going to compromise your computer, allow backdoor remote access, those types of things. We have rootkits, which are particularly hard to detect. This is a set of programs that enables the cybercriminal to gain control over a computer system without anyone noticing that the system has been compromised. And this last one, oh, ransomware. As much as this is like the worst possible thing as far as I'm concerned that you could get, whoever just developed this is absolutely brilliant. All right. Ransomware is malware that prevents you from using your computer until you pay a fine or fee. All right. And traditionally, they do that by encrypting your hard drive. All right. They may not actually stop you from using your computer, but they stop you from getting at your data. So what they do is once they have access to your computer, they say, okay, time to encrypt it, and they just encrypt all of your personal files, all those types of things. And once they're encrypted, now you can't access them unless you have the decryption stuff. And said normally it's and a lot of normally you have to pay for it, and a lot of times there's a deadline. And after that deadline passes, they just go, okay, we don't need this decryption key anymore, and they delete it. It goes away unless someone's basically going to try to hack that decryption key. So normally there is a very limited amount of time here for you to be able to get that decryption and actually be able to get your documents back. This has happened to some very large corporations. If they've hit school districts, they've hit everybody with this, and it can be bad. And depending on how your backup schemes and things like that work, the ransomware, especially if it kind of sits idle for a while, it can actually get into all of your backups as well. So you might not be able to even just restore from your backups. Again, times where having a detached USB drive is one of your best options for you because if it's not plugged in, it can't get infected. So definitely something that you might want to think about. Oh, yep. All right. And last one on this is protection. All right, protection against all this stuff. Firewalls, that's going to be your first one. And most likely you have two different firewalls installed. One is on your computer itself, which is a software-based firewall. And this does, Windows has that built right in for you. They all do. And then the other firewall that probably is going to be there is also going to be built into your router. So that's actually kind of the first line of defense. Your router is basically only allowing, in theory, those connections that you want to come through. And that's the firewall saying, well, Greg made this request through me, so I need to let his response through. But this other person who's just trying to like force his way in, now I'm not going to let them in. So your router is really that first line of defense. The firewall on your computer should be almost the last. All right, and that's probably you're only gonna have two. Really large corporations will have computers dedicated on their network to basically that's all it is. It's a firewall. It's a big honking server that all it does is check all the incoming traffic and allow some stuff through and not other stuff. So just something to kind of keep in your mind. We also do have antivirus software, which provides protection against more than just viruses traditionally. It also normally protects against Trojans, worms, and spyware. Windows has Windows Defender built into it at this point. There are lots of them out there. There's McAfee, there's Avast, those are the I know off the top of my head. Personally, I just use Windows Defender at this point. I don't know if that's truly a good thing, but I haven't had any major issues running it ever since they've come out with it, or at least I installed Windows with it. So that's what I do. And most of the time, your antivirus is going to be both performing real time and system. So real time is everything you're doing. It's constantly going, is that allowed? Is that doing something for punchy? What's going on there? And it's constantly checking those things and going, yep, nope, we're good, we're good. Where the system scanning is actually like doing like a deep dive of your hard drive to see if anything is inactive on there that probably shouldn't be there. All right. So those types of things. We also do have anti-spyware software, which prevents ads and spyware from installing. I'm using that to clean. Oops, sorry. You also do have some security suites that have both of those. All right. Or also have like file quarantine stuff like that to help keep you safe. IT security is definitely a great place if you have an interest in technology and problem solving and things like that. So something to contemplate getting into.